What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So, the U.S. House of Representatives has passed a new military draft bill. Are they preparing for war? Is a big question going on a lot of people's minds with the new election coming up, with a war already going on in Ukraine, which the U.S. recently passed billions of dollars of new funding for. Vladimir Putin is obviously not very happy with this, and another major war going on in Israel and Palestine. Two major world wars going on with many different countries involved in, and now the US passes in the House of Representatives a new military draft rule of law. The Senate is now considering it. I'll give you the details on this. And women may be required in this military draft in certain states. I'll give you the details of all that in this video and the newest details on this. Here we go. Let's jump right in. Thank you so much for liking these videos, and you might want to share this with a lot of people. Here we go. The military has had recruitment shortfalls for several years in a row, and only 23% of young people qualify for the military. And a lot of this is because of recruiting challenges are complex and multifaceted. And now Congress has passed this new military draft bill and rule of law in the House of Representatives. Here, take a look at the actual video of this bill passing.
On this vote, the yeas are 217, the nays are 199. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Now, the interesting part about this, and again, I don't know if you're Republican or Democrat or Independent or whatever, but this is how the vote went. You guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. 211 Republicans voted yes for this bill. 3 voted no. 4 of them abstained from voting. Only 6 Democrats voted yes, and 196 voted no. So basically, it's the Republicans that voted yes and passed this new bill for the military draft in the House of Representatives. You can see here the House passes the defense bill, automatically will register men for the draft for ages 18 to 26 and will automatically register men. This will have to go to the Senate still for consideration. This would expand the military draft to age 26 and automatically register men. Okay? The Senate still has to consider this and would expand the military draft up to age 26. Okay? Remember, Democrats mostly voted against this and didn't want to pass this. Republicans voted for this and passed this bill. Okay? This begs the question, is the U.S. preparing for war? Remember, we already have the war with Ukraine and Russia, which the U.S. is largely involved in. We already have the war with Israel and Palestine and Hamas, which the U.S. is involved in. And we also have the fear that China will try to take over Taiwan, which the U.S. is already involved in with the U.S.-Taiwan Relations Act, which Congress passed many years ago, which basically says that the U.S. has to help defend Taiwan in multiple different ways, and there's multiple different ways to, interpret that. President Biden has already said that we would put boots on the ground, U.S. boots on the ground, to defend Taiwan. He's said that publicly. So the question here is the U.S. preparing for war? Is a good question. You can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Now, in addition to this, you could see here, military draft map shows U.S. states that women may be automatically signed up for it. That's right, women in the draft as well. I'll show you the states here as in a second, but first, I talked with my wife here before this, and I wanted to have her on camera, but she's busy doing stuff. Maybe I'll have her on here when she gets a moment. But women want equal opportunities. Don't get me wrong. I think that they have a lot of equal opportunities, but some women would do okay in a military setting. If you're a woman, you can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. And there are a lot of women in the military that sign up voluntarily, and they're ready for it. They're mentally prepared. They want to go and do it. But a lot of women, just average everyday women that aren't willing to go and do this, are not ready to be in the military. You just take the average everyday girl who's 18 years old, just got out of high school. Imagine her being drafted into the military against her will. Mind you, this would be a draft. Okay. Imagine hundreds, thousands of 18-year-old girls, 19-year-old girls, 20-year-old girls being drafted against their will. This would be a draft. It would be against their will, right? And them going to boot camp and then being potentially shipped off to war in a combat situation. They would just not be ready for this type of situation. And I think that remember, I'm a realist. If you've been watching me for years on YouTube, I think we can all agree on this, right? And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of men that wouldn't be ready for this too. It's just the reality of the world today. Everybody is not cut out for the military. And I actually come from a military family, okay? My brother served in the Army, and my grandfather, my mom's father, was at Pearl Harbor like 2 or 3 days before Pearl Harbor happened. Okay. Had he had been there 2 or 3 days later, who knows if I would have been born? He may have perished there at Pearl Harbor and he may have died there. Okay. Um, so, it takes a certain type of person to say, I want to go into the military and know what they're in for, know what's going to happen, and then what it entails physically and mentally, right? When you start just drafting any male or female and say, hey, we're going to put you through boot camp. I was a wrestler for many, many years. Physically, I probably could have did it, right? I mean, I ran, I lifted weights, I did everything, but I didn't want to go into the military, right? I chose to be an entrepreneur and go that route. But I mean, I used to run 3 times a day. I used to lift weights. I was second in the state for wrestling. My brother did it in the military. If I wanted to, I feel like I could have went that route. I was mentally prepared to do something along those lines. But there's a lot of people that just aren't mentally prepared to go to just even to do boot camp, just the physical type of stuff that entails that. You look at the physical fitness of today's world, there's just a lot of people that can't do that, let alone combat. Combat is a whole different experience, and I've never been in combat, right? Doing combat's a completely different experience. You try to take today's youth and now you're going to talk about throwing women in there. What if they have children? What if they're pregnant? What if all these different things? And you look here, the U.S. House and Senate are considering legislation to include women in the country's draft laws after the House passed the annual National Defense Authorization Act last week, allowing a bipartisan measure to make registration automatic. Men between the ages of 18 to 25 are required to register with the Selective Service. The database of people could be subject to a draft if it were activated. In some states, this registration is already automatic and happens when men get their driver's license or apply for college. Last week, a Senate committee approved a version of a Pentagon policy that would extend this automatic registration to women. To women. You can see here the group of states in purple. I hate when they do these colors that are too similar. Whatever color this dark purple is would be automatic. This light purple would be no, and this red would be an opt-in, and this orange would be an opt-out. Rather than looking at this map here, you could pause it here if you want to see this. I'll go through the states here, okay? If the amended policy were to become law, women in the following states would join their male counterparts in being automatically registered for the selective service, also known as the draft. Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Illinois, Kansas, Louisiana, Minnesota, Mississippi, New Mexico, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, Wisconsin, and West Virginia. All those states would draft women 18 up to 26 into the military. Every single woman, every 18 to up to 26, every one of them. Other states, including Iowa, Kentucky, New York, and Nevada, allow people to opt out, while places such as Idaho, Indiana, Maine, Michigan, Missouri, Montana, New Hampshire, and Washington would allow people to opt in, which is absolutely crazy. So, question begs, are we preparing for war? With two major wars going on, people think this is part of a larger World War III. Let me know your thoughts here in the comments as things are getting crazier by the day. I will keep you up to date. Make sure to like this video. It helps out our channel. Subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. Click the bell icon so you don't miss out on new updates. Share this video with anybody that needs to hear this information. Share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, or just send the link to anybody that needs to hear it. Click here to see why your bank account or cell phone may have just been hacked because of what just happened in this video. Thanks, and I'll see you in that video.